the Movie Guy. BMG Radio this week. BMG is looking at Shut Up, Meg. It's the Meg movie trailer. Movie. You know what I mean. And best films of 2001. Not the Space Odyssey, just the 2001. And yeah, and some more. Even got some questions. Let's get into it. Brought to you by the Bearded Movie Guy. Hi, the Bearded Movie Guy this week. BMG Radio, I'm looking at The Meg, so we'll start off with that, and then there's a bit more stuff after. So, The Meg, I got to go see this for work, and I love shark movies. Like, I was raised on Jaws and the Jaws franchise, even though the first one's the best one, clearly. But I love shark movies. I always have. They've become like a thing in the last bunch of years, like with Sharknado and all that kind of stuff. Like The Shallows came out a while ago, 47 Meters Down. Like there's been a bunch of shark movies. I haven't seen all of them, seen some of them. Some of them have been good, some of them have been terrible. Some of them are supposed to be terrible. The Meg, let's just get into it. The Meg is pretty much a fun summer movie. And that's what it's supposed to be, and that's what it tries to be, and that's what it basically is. It's the premise actually isn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like how Megs are around and why all of a sudden they show up and stuff. I'm not gonna spoil it or anything like that. But the premise of how they end up attacking and all this kind of stuff it's decent. It's not bad actually. Now I'm a fan of Jason Statham. He's decent in this. He's very Jason Statham. The cast is pretty diverse as it's supposed to be. A lot of it's set in China and stuff, which I'm betting more than anything else is to appeal to the Chinese audience, which is fine. You know, it's like there's a billion Chinese people that are into watching movies now, so setting movies near China makes sense in a lot of ways. I think that's also why Skyscraper was also set in Hong Kong. But anyway, the cast is good, it's decent. Rainn Wilson plays exactly what you'd think he was, although near the end I was kind of hoping he wasn't going to do what he does, and he does what he does, and you know, and sadly it's kind of exactly what you think he's going to do, and you know, but overall, the movie itself, I found it pretty entertaining. I've read a couple different reviews, listened to a few different people's thoughts on it. It goes from mediocre to being really good. I would say it's a fun summer movie. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't bother me to see it again. Didn't offend me in any way. There's tons of little nods to Jaws in there, like even from like the girl's dog being named Pippin. And she's like, Pippin, 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 which is Jaws, you know. It's just like the dog in Jaws that you're assuming Jaws eats because, you know, Bruce the shark eats because you never see Pippin again. But no, the movie itself, the CGI looks fine for the most part. The premise is silly and stupid. It's a popcorn movie. It's a summer movie. If you think it's supposed to be anything different, you're the one going to be disappointed. No one else is. If you're hoping for what this is supposed to be by what it was in the trailer, you should be entertained. And I personally found it pretty decent. I would give it 3 beards out of 5. And yeah, enjoyable movie. There's definitely been better movies this year, but there's definitely been worse. So yeah, for what it's worth, 3 beards out of 5. Check out The Meg. Let me know if you've seen it or are planning on seeing it in the comments. Moving on to trailer of the week. Every week I look quickly at a trailer that's come out that I think you guys should pay attention to, anyone who's listening to this. All 3 of you. This week I watched a trailer with Maggie Gyllenhaal. Most people will know her from Dark Knight, but she's a really talented actress, sister of Jake Gyllenhaal, if you didn't know that from the name. It's kind of sad, but anyways. She is doing a movie called First Grade Teacher, or no, sorry, Kindergarten Teacher. Ugh, I'm already getting it wrong. Kindergarten Teacher. And it's all about a kindergarten teacher who has a student who seems to be a poetic prodigy. He writes poetry that's very deep and amazing, and she's like, wow, this kid's awesome. He's like the next Mozart. He's the next, like, you know, brilliant thinker. And she tries to develop that, and the father basically is like, I don't want my son doing anything like that. I want my son to be a normal kid that plays baseball and and stuff. And it looks like in the movie she takes some drastic steps to try and make this kid's talents visible to the world. Yeah, Kindergarten Teacher. Check out the trailer. It's a movie I definitely will want to see. I don't necessarily think I'm going to want to see it in theaters, but I'm definitely interested in seeing it. So I'll put a link in the description below. Check it out. Let me know what you think about Kindergarten Teacher. Now moving on to the top 10 movies of a year. I've been going backwards through the 2000s. If you've been paying attention, if you haven't, well then this is new to you. But I'm at 2001, not A Space Odyssey, just 2001. And so I'm going to give you the top 10 movies of that year. I'm going to quickly go through the top 20 to 11, just say what they are in my opinion, and then we'll go on from there. So number 20, we'll go Mulholland Drive, which is a crazy movie. Ali, Enemy at the Gates, K-Pax, Hardball, The Mummy Returns, Hearts of Atlantis, A Beautiful Mind, Donnie Darko, and Ghost World. Those are all ones that didn't make the list, but are movies that are good in their own right and should definitely be seen by a lot of people. Now moving on to the list. Number 10, a David Mamet film called Heist. Number 10 is Heist. Heist has Gene Hackman, Delroy Lindo, Sam Rockwell, and it's exactly what you would think it is if you know about David Mamet movies. David Mamet is a playwright. He's become a director, and he makes his own movies generally, and they're very his style of movies. They're people who have quick-witted dialogue. There's a lot of film noir kind of elements, and just they're crime movies, most of them. And this one is about a crew that's doing this robbery, and Gene Hackman is kind of leading up the crew, but he's got this wild card on the crew that's been put on him by this backer, who's Sam Rockwell. And it's a very solid movie. It's very entertaining. I like it a lot. I liked it a lot, and then I didn't like it, but I've come back to liking it a lot, believe it or not. I don't know why. I had a period where I kind of didn't like the movie anymore. But Heist is a very, very solid film. A very underwatched film. A lot of David Mamet films don't get a lot of press. But if you ever get a chance, Gene Hackman is great in it. So it's a solid, good movie. Number 9, Training Day. Anton Fuqua and Denzel Washington in the role he should have won for an Oscar. And Ethan Hawke was also phenomenal in this movie. This is the movie that kind of announced Antoine Fuqua to the world. Antoine Fuqua was a music video director mostly before this, and that gave him a lot of street cred. They actually got to go into places in LA and to some places that are hard to film in. The people living there would not let people film there, and because Antoine Fuqua was there, they let him in. So I apologize if you're hearing background stuff. There's some people talking. Anyways, I'm going to keep going. So, yeah, Training Day is Denzel, one of Denzel's best roles. It's a weird role because everybody's so used to seeing Denzel be a hero. And he's always been heroic, and then all of a sudden he's not a good guy. He's a very morally ambiguous guy for part of the film, and then he's a very morally bad guy for most of the film. It's a really good-looking film. It's smart. It's different than most other cop films. And yeah, it's my number 9 from 2001. All right, number 8. The Ridley Scott directed Black Hawk Down. This is just, once it starts and gets going, it doesn't stop. It's pretty solid in its pace and delivery of what's going on. About a helicopter crash in Mogadishu, and they're trying to rescue them, but they're running into tons of obstacles. It's about Army Rangers, and Army Rangers, if you don't know, never leave a man behind. Like, they will risk 5 guys to go get a guy who's dead, literally, like, just to get his corpse and bring him back. And it's about a real world thing that happened, as far as I remember. It's really frenetic in its pacing and action, and it gives you a really different look at modern warfare from that time when it was happening. Number 7, Brotherhood of the Wolf. A lot of people don't know about this film. Some people do probably think it's cheesy. I think it's great. It's Mark Dacascos, which is funny, is the guy from Iron Chef. who's in this, and a bunch of other actors and stuff. But it's a really interesting story, and it has a little mystery element to it, and it's got some creature effects in it, and just all in all, I really like this movie. And it's got a sword, which is cool, and it's called a bone sword, and I'm going to leave it at that and let you figure out while watching the movie. But yeah, I love the movie. I think it's really good. I've always been a fan of it since I've seen it, and not a lot of people know about it. Brotherhood of the Wolf. It's French, but you can watch it dubbed. I watched it dubbed when I first saw it because I didn't know it was French. But there's some decent action in it, decent martial arts type action, and some other cool elements. So, next up, number 6, we have what Guillermo del Toro considers to be his first real film, even though he made films before this. But this was where he was like, "Now I'm a filmmaker," and it's called The Devil's Backbone. If you've never seen The Devil's Backbone, it is a ghost film about an orphanage in Spain, not Mexico. Spain. It takes place during the Spanish Civil War, and it is very beautiful in a very harsh light. He's known for doing that. He makes things that are kind of ugly beautiful, and things that are beautiful ugly. Guillermo it's great, and I introduced it to my daughters this year, and they really liked it. I'm really happy that it's such a good film. It's just such a solid, beautiful story, and it's a ghost story though. So, moving on, number 5, Monsters Inc. Number 5 is Monsters Inc. And Monsters Inc. The prequel thing was cute and stuff, but this was a really great movie. Monsters Inc. is solid all the way around, from voice to animation to storytelling. It's just great and works on every level. And it's Monsters Inc. And it's just, yeah. Pixar, once upon a time, was hitting everything out of the park. And Monsters Inc. was just another example of that. Number 4, The Royal Tenenbaums. Many people believe this is Wes Anderson's best film. I don't know if it's his best. It's not my favorite, for sure. That's The Aquatic Life of Steve Zissou. But it is great. It's got a diverse cast. It's got, a lot of his normals, but they're very diverse in how many people are there. And it's just a quirky family drama. And Gene Hackman is just fantastic in it. Ben Stiller's also very good, too. It's just, yeah, I highly recommend it if you've never seen The Royal Tenenbaums, or if you've seen it, watch it again. Number 3, I believe, hold on, let me check to make sure. Yeah, so everything hasn't been, that Royal Tenenbaums was, I give 4.5 stars. The next 3 movies for 3, 2, and 1, I'll get 5 stars for me out of 5, 5 beards out of 5. They're all excellent films. Number 3, the film that kicked off the return of heist movies pretty much for a time period. Ocean's 11, Steven Soderbergh with the cast of awesomeness. Clooney, Pitt, Damon. It's just, they're awesome. It's such a diverse, amazing, awesome cast. There's so many people in this cast. Andy Garcia is great as the bad guy. Elliot Gould. It is just a great movie. The other ones aren't nearly as good as this one. The third one's better than the second one. The second one's okay. This one is fantastic. I give it 5 out of 5. It's the gold standard of what I hold heist movies up to being. And yeah, this was as far as I was concerned, this was the return coming out party of George Clooney being awesome. He'd been doing some good things before that, but this was just what cemented him as being completely awesome again in a lot of people's vocabulary and everyday parlance. It's such a great movie. So, number 2, and this is 2 and 1, 2 on its own, if it was standing on its own, versus 1, it actually beats 1, but 1 is part of a trilogy, but not part of a trilogy, and you'll see. But number 2 is Spirited Away by Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli. It is phenomenal. Spirited Away is beautiful. It's deep. It's got a story that just goes on levels that most animated movies will never get close to. And I just love everything about it. It's beautiful and just touching, and the animation just grips you and just pulls at your heartstrings. And he knows how to tell stories, especially most of his protagonists are young girls, and I, having daughters, love that. So yeah, Spirited Away. Now, Spirited Away as it stands by itself would probably be better, but this movie is part of a trilogy, so I'm giving it to that. And that is Lord of the Ring, Fellowship of the Ring. At least I believe that. Is that what it's called? My brain don't. Yeah, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. The first Lord of the Rings movie. I watched this in theaters not knowing it was actually part of a trilogy at the point. I was just like, okay, I've heard of this Lord of the Rings book. And I was like, I'm going to go watch this. I've never seen this. And I watched it and was blown away. And then as ending, I'm like, oh, I guess there's more movies coming. And sure enough, there was 2 more. And then I found that out and stuff. But when the first time I saw it, I was blown away. I've watched it ever since. A little while ago, in March, I believe, my whole family, we watched it, the Lord of the Rings extended trilogy in one day. In one sitting, not like per se, like we got up and used the bathroom, but made lunch and stuff like that. But in one day, we watched all 3 movies. And it's epic, and it's the best way to watch it if you possibly can. Lord of the Rings, it introduced the characters beautifully. It gave us some actors, like Viggo Mortensen, it totally rose his stock more than, like, I had no clue who he was. And I'd seen him in films and had no clue who he was. And just launched a bunch of people's careers, like Orlando Bloom. And Peter Jackson just, like, I don't think he's done anything nearly as good since Lord of the Rings. Like, just, God bless him, he tried with The Hobbit, but he didn't know what he was doing. And these movies, though, are among the best movies ever made. So yeah, number 1 for 2001 was Lord of the Rings. Let me know what your top 10 is. Either send me your Letterboxd link for that year, or just tell me what you think the best movies are that year in the comments. I'd love to know. Next, I'm moving to Letterboxd Diary. I didn't see many movies this week, so I'll quickly just go. I saw Mission Impossible Fallout again. I took my father to see it, and the schwanky VIP 19 lounge theater, where it's really nice, and they'll bring you steak to your seat if you buy it and stuff. And it was a cool experience. I was glad I could do it. But Mission Impossible Fallout, I actually enjoyed it more the second time. But it's still, I think, sits second on my list of best Mission Impossible movies. I think number 5, which is Rogue Nation, which is the one preceding this one, not the prequel because it came out first, obviously. I think that's better. But I need to watch it again, really, to give me both of them combined, so I can make a judgment. But I'm going to say that one's better. But it's still a really solid movie. It cemented what I thought the first time. 4 out of 5. And Tom Cruise is insane. So that was really good. I watched a thing called Boyka Undisputed 4, which I've seen all the Undisputed movies. The first one is very different because it's a boxing movie, and then 2, 3, and 4, if I can do math, are all mixed martial arts type movies with some unbelievable martial arts and some really good martial arts. Scott Adkins, I believe his name is Boyka, who looks like a really buff Ben Affleck, basically. And he can do some things with his body that's impressive. This one, the story itself was kind of just okay. But it was entertaining, and the fights were not bad at all. And Scott Adkins is coming along as an actor. He had a bit more range in this one than he's had in the other ones. So I liked that. It showed he was kind of moving as an actor. I watched it on Netflix. It's pretty enjoyable. I gave it 3 out of 5. Wouldn't necessarily run out and watch it again, but I thought it was good. Next up, I saw The Meg, which if I didn't mention before, I probably did, but I didn't. I gave it 3 out of 5. It is what it is. I was entertained. Are you not entertained? I was entertained. And last night, we watched a movie as a family. It was my wife's pick, and she picked the animated movie Titan AE from 2000. So Titan AE, which has a great cast. Like, you got Matt Damon, Nathan Lane, Bill Pullman, Drew Barrymore, Janine Garofalo. Like, it's got a really good cast. And I think even John Leguizamo's in there. It's got a really good cast, and it's got some interesting visuals for an animated movie. And it's a lot of it's music based, so there's like 4 or 5 spots where it's basically just music videos almost, kind of. But it's still entertaining. I like the story. I like the message. Basically, it's humanity's better together, which is true. And yeah, I really like it a lot. I give it 3.5 stars or beards out of 5. It's enjoyable. And that's everything I've watched this week. I didn't watch many movies this week. I was kind of busy. So, last up, I got Q&A, and I got a few questions. One from Bear, my boy Bear Joshua Armstrong. I don't know why I said it like that, but yeah, whatever. Who actually listens to these? So there you go, Bear. There's a big shout out. Thank you for listening. He puts them on while he's doing other stuff, which is what you're supposed to do. Anyways, he says, what spin-off movie would you want made if you pick, you can pick whatever you want for character, basically for any franchise, what spin-off movie would I like? Seeing Solo and Donald Glover be awesome made me kind of want a Lando movie more than a Solo sequel. I thought he was really good as Lando, but I don't necessarily need a Lando movie. I don't know, like I was explaining this question to somebody and they're like, what, you mean superhero movies? And I'm like, any movie. So like you could have the spin-off movie of Bones from Star Trek. Not that I want to see that necessarily, but, or Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy gets his own movie and stuff. Like Harley Quinn is getting her own movie. It's called Birds of Prey, I believe. And it's going to be her and some other superhero people, but not the Suicide Squad. So who would I like to get their own movie? What character would I be interested in seeing? I don't know. There's like one of the answers. It's funny. That my daughters give was Winter Soldier, which, like, you know, it'd be. I think he already kind of is gonna have his own movie, maybe depending where the MCU goes. Sorry if that ruins it for everyone, but I know if you watched and you don't know, the last thing you saw with him was him turning into dust, but he'll be back. I don't know, for no one in the Marvel universe, like there's nothing there that interested me. In the DC universe, there's, you know, like most of the people are getting their solo movies. Like Aquaman's getting a solo movie, Flash is getting a solo movie, Cyborg I believe is getting a solo movie. Wonder Woman already has a solo movie and she's getting a sequel. Superman is eventually going to get another movie, I guess. I don't know. So Batman, they're talking about, like they've been talking about doing it forever. So I'm not going to pick anyone from that. Like from Suicide Squad, I wouldn't mind seeing a Deadshot movie, but it would have to be under the right circumstances. But I'd rather just see a Suicide Squad movie. And yes, I did like the Suicide Squad movie. If you're wondering, whoever's like, you liked that? No, I liked it. It's not great, but I liked it. Who do I want to have a movie? I don't know. I can tell you sequels I definitely want. Like I want a sequel to The Nice Guys, which is never going to happen, but I want it to happen anyways. In the Fast and Furious franchise, I know they're doing a Rock Jason Statham movie with just the two of them, which I know is a spin-off sequel, but I want a spin-off sequel with Tyrese and Ludacris, where it's a Tej and Roman spin-off movie where it's just the two of them and they get into trouble and yeah, I want to see that. There you go. There's a spin-off movie I would like to see. Just those two going, and like, you know, whatever that entails, I would like to see that. Yeah, that'd be fun. And then Zion had a question, my daughter, which she sent me even. It's, what animated movie would I like to be redone? Either animated again or live action. And so I'm not going to say animated again. So what animated movie would I like to see live action? I've heard rumors about this, and part of me cringes, but part of me thinks it could be awesome depending on who makes it. They're talking about doing Akira live action. And the name that got bounced around, which I actually was interested in, was Christopher Nolan making Akira live action. That I would be up for. I think that would be pretty awesome. Past that, I would like them to make a live action Gogol 13. He's a Japanese hitman, which I think like I would want them to pick a Japanese guy to play him. I don't want them to whitewash it. Like I don't want Jason Statham to play Gogol 13. or like that. But I would like to see a Golgo 13 live action movie that's done well, not a cheesy one, like an actual Jason Bourne style Golgo 13 type movie would be particularly awesome, I think. So that's it. Last up, I thought I would ask you a question of anyone who's made it this far in the thing. If I want to know what you think about what's happening with Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with James Gunn. If you don't know, you're probably living under a rock, but James Gunn had made some terrible jokes, like awful jokes, like 10 years ago on Twitter. And someone dug them up. And they're not good jokes. They're terrible jokes. They're like about molesting kids and stuff like that. And like they're not good jokes. And he publicly already admitted that they're there, and he publicly already apologized and said that I was a different guy back then. I was trying to be shocking and stuff. But Disney bowed to pressure and canned him. And now several, like all the Guardians of the Galaxy actors have said that they don't think it's right. And Bautista in particular has come out and said, like, if they change the script, he's just leaving. He's going to just walk. But he wants James Gunn back. What are your thoughts on this? My thoughts are generally they should, like, if the president gets away with the fact that, like, he said terrible things and people go, yeah, but it was 10 years ago. I don't, like, then why should James Gunn be paying for what he said 10 years ago? And he, like, hasn't shown any part of that in his lifestyle now, and everyone who knows him is like, oh, that doesn't sound like the guy I know. Why is he being punished for something he did 10 years ago when we're not punishing other people for things they did 10 years ago? He didn't do anything illegal. He just made some really bad jokes. So I think that he should be reinstated. I think Disney shouldn't have kicked him off in the first place. They should have said, this is 10 years ago when he wasn't employed by us. He has publicly denounced these things. He doesn't feel like this anymore, so we're not going to hold this against him. But they didn't. They bowed to pressure from a few people and kicked him off, and this has created a big riff. A lot of the Guardians actors are very upset about it. And in particular, Dave Bautista is freaked out. What is your thoughts on this? I'd love to know in the comments. And yeah, that's my thoughts. I think they should reinstate him, but I doubt they will. But I think if they're not going to, they should definitely leave the script alone and let someone else make it, because he's already written a full script, as far as I understand it, for Guardians 3. And whatever you think of the Guardians movies, like, part of them were a huge thing because of him being the writer and director. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this? Well, that's it for this week's BMG Radio. Thank you so much for listening. Comment if you will. Tell me anything you want to talk about. Any questions for next week? I would love to hear questions, comments. Comments are so rare. It's so nice to hear them. But thanks again for listening. I'm going to try and get these out every week. I've been doing pretty decent lately. And we'll see where it goes from there. Thanks for listening, and as always, YouTube safely. And stay bearded. Stay bearded first, and then YouTube safely. Do both.